Close every.
All right, I'm going to go live to Facebook. Here we go. do, 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 do.
Are we
Preparing.
ready? Are we?
We're live. Are we ready? We are ready. Here we go. So
We're
welcome
here.
everyone. We're here. We're on, we're live, we're everywhere. Welcome to the next installment of my most exciting fun creation, my podcast called Let's Talk Horses. And my very, very special guest this week is Mr. Andrew Gardella. Welcome, Andrew.
Hello.
And we were just talking about some very exciting news before we started this podcast. But before we get to that, we can announce that to the world very soon. The first question I like to ask people on my podcast is, because it's always a little bit different, how did horses come into your life? Like, where did this love affair begin?
I think, so I started as an access facilitator and, at the classes and stuff, when they would have horse riding and stuff. But for me, I think when it really became something that I was really interested in was when I went to my first SE extravaganza class, which is a course where we work on horses and people at the same time. And we kind of alternate between working on horses and working on people. And for me, it was my first time, like as a body worker, I'm a chiropractor. And so I've done body work and I've worked on people a lot, but I've never really worked on animals or horses. And when I went to work on horses, it was the feedback and just the changes that I saw going on with their body and kind of like how they interacted with you when you were working on them was just, there was such a clarity and a directness to it versus when I work on people sometimes that it was just, I don't know, it just hooked me in a way because I was like, oh my gosh, they're just like so upfront and like actually give you information
Yeah.
in a way that I was like, I don't get with people.
Yeah. And I love that. And I'm glad because a lot of the guests I have on my podcast or have had so far have that same feedback, like how horses have shown them so much clarity in communication, but not so much around the bodywork side of things. So I'd love to explore that with you a little bit more. Because everyone that I talk to horses about, it's one of their most like endearing characteristics is they don't hide anything. Everything that they tell you very clearly, but they're not verbal. So that's why, as a conscious horse, conscious rider facilitator, as someone that gets to use these amazing creatures as a tool for facilitation, it's such a cool thing. So just briefly, like which horses do you have now in your life? Like when did you get your first horse? Like how did that play out?
Uh, I have, let's see, I think he's 13 now. I have a 13-year-old Peruvian gelding. He's a Palomino.
He's
He's a
beautiful.
very good looking princess horse.
Yeah.
Looks great in the sun. And he was a stallion at the time. And I think I've had him about 7 years now. So I think I got him when he was about 6. And then I have I think I think she's 7 now, a 7-year-old quarter horse, Strawberry Roan.
Oh,
And
and so it's the two horses at the ranch you have.
yes, I have oops, did you freeze or did I freeze? Was
You're
that
back.
you or me? I don't know. We're back. Anyways, but yes, I have 2 horses in Texas.
Yeah. And what's your gelding's name again? The
My
Palomino?
gelding's name is Destino.
Destino. And then your mare is Nimue.
Nimue. Yes, we call
Yeah.
her Nim for short. But
Nim.
and I'm soon to have another horse because she's pregnant and
Oh my God.
baby is supposed to drop any day now.
Whoa, that is so exciting. So you're going to have 3 horses.
Yes,
Um,
another
so
another mouth to feed.
I know, right? But it's always fun. You're like, I'll figure it out. It'll be fine.
Yeah,
It's not like a child. It's gonna be fine. It's a
Mhm.
horse. So with Destino, so you've had him for about 7 years now, and you mentioned when you got him, he was a stallion. Can you just tell us a little bit about that? In Australia, there is such a point of view. We don't really ride stallions in Australia, and I'm so grateful because
Oh.
my time with Gary, when I got my horse in Costa Rica, he was a stallion the first time I rode him. And in Australia, you don't, I mean, people ride them, but they're considered like this very like advanced and like this
Hmm.
whole energy around them, where in Australia we lock them away and they're kind of really kept just for breeding or for very experienced people. So can you just talk a little bit about what, and you were probably quite new to riding and stuff then as well, right? Like what did he show you? What was that like?
Uh, I mean, I wasn't, I, I mean, so the funny story is still to this day, even though he's a gelding, when I get on him, it's a different ride than when any, like, I've let my wife ride him, or I let, my friend Susie ride him, or even you've ridden him. And
Yeah.
he is a perfect gentleman when any lady gets on him, and he walks really slow, and he knows his deal. He's like, chest out, looking good, all these things. When I get on him, it's the like we do a little bit of who's the stallion, who's the lead stallion, and especially when he was actually a stallion. Um, there was a bit of that energy where with him, I had to really be this energy of I'm in charge, this is like, and know what I was asking of him and know what I was doing. So I think, and I can see how people might find that intimidating or more work, or like that means the horse is being difficult, but that's what a stallion does. The stallion for the herd is like, no, I'm in charge. Like if you don't want to be this, they actually kick all the other males out. So it's like, there's just, I think it's just, you just have to acknowledge that with the stallion. And it doesn't mean like I said, he would always take care of people. He would just challenge me more than anyone else. But that was, I mean, I kind of was asking for it, so it wasn't a big deal. And I knew that, but he was never like aggressive with me in a way that was like trying to bite me or hurt me or anything harmful.
Yeah.
I think,
And then yeah. And
and
then
he's also a pony, like he's a horse, but he's 14 hands. So he's a
but
pony.
but still, I mean, this horse is he's chunky. He's got a big neck. He's muscular. Like he looks like a stallion. And even though he's gelded
Yeah.
now, I mean, he still very much has the energy of a stallion. So, like you touched on it briefly about riding a horse from that space. Like, is there anything else you want to say with regards to like different energy of different horses? And maybe you could use Nim as an example as well when you then have a mare, and even like the breed side of things. Like, are there certain things you are with your horses that is different, and what do you kind of, how do you navigate that in a way? Like what are you looking at when you ride, even if we just say the difference between your two horses?
Well, I think, I mean, part of it is just the training. I think there's a difference in how my, like, because like Nim, basically I got her when she was 2. So like I got her very young. Like I've been working with her. So it's more, my horse has always been my horse. I had some people help break her, but then other than that, it was like either me working with her or my wife working with her. So we've been, you know, kind of more hands-on in a way of what we would like and how we would like her to respond. And, just even like her responses to like, pressure or like, the bit and how you create those changes. And like with Destino, I already got him when he was six, 7. So he already had a bunch of training. He had a lot of the, whoever owned him before, kind of how they trained him. So trying to get him to do certain things at that point, wasn't really going to work. Like I can try and try, and there was just some things that were a little bit more challenging with them. So I
Yeah.
think, and it's totally different. Like my Peruvian horse is, he has a paso. So like you can just sit on him. He's a really smooth ride. Like he can run as fast as he wants, and you can just sit in the saddle. You don't ever have to really do anything. And with the quarter horse, she's not as smooth. So it's like you have to like, and I never like I've either ridden Peruvians or Costa Senseis, which are also really smooth and they have their pasos. So they're not really bumpy. But with
Yeah.
her, when she breaks into a canter, it's like I have to be able to learn how to post and like just ride differently, because she has a little bit of a, get a like a little bump and when she switches gears and stuff. And I think, for me, the biggest thing was going from like the one of it was like going from a stallion to a mare, which was also so different.
Yeah.
Um, and also, quarter horses are trained with one hand reining, so they're all trained to be able to, because they're cowboy horses, so they want to have to be able to have a hand free to either grab the horn or to, like, if they're going to be roped or whatever. It's just kind of how they're bred and how they're used to it. And with Destino, it was always two hands, on the reins. And so if I try, even to this day, if I try to go to one hand reining him, like take my phone out to take a picture or something, he like is like, goes a little bit.
The hell.
Yeah. He's like, the rain's pulling this way. No, the rain's pulling this way.
That's
So I think each horse is gonna, and I think each horse is gonna be different too, like the temperament and stuff.
yeah. They're a bit like us. They have their moods and
Yeah.
their personalities.
Yeah. It's like, I've had great days on Destino, I've had great days on Nim, and I've also had not so great days on either of them, and I think that's just kind of how it goes.
Yeah. And whether it's a great day, like a great ride, or, what you would consider not a great ride, I think you always walk away with more awareness and more, something. Like you take something from it where it's never
Oh
really
yeah.
a bad ride. It's more so just like, oh, okay, he challenged me or she challenged me a lot more today, or, whatever
Or
was
I just
going
knew
on.
I didn't really want to ride, but I thought I should ride, so I got on there and had a ride, and I had a miserable time, and I should have just stayed home and not done anything.
I should have
Or
just gone and fed him an apple and left again or
yeah,
something.
yeah, basically. Or like gone and done groundwork or something else. And there's been times where I go to ride and I'm like, no, I'm gonna actually do some groundwork, or just, walk him around, let him eat grass, whatever. It's like, and it's actually, the funny thing was, um, with my mare, we didn't know she was pregnant, for 10 months. Like, we kept looking at her thinking she was pregnant because we tried to breed her once and we didn't think it took, because the stallion ended up getting tested a month later and had a really low sperm count. So we're like, we don't think she took. And then she kept getting fatter and fatter and fatter. And we're like, oh, well, she likes to eat. Maybe she's just, in Texas, we say they're an easy keeper.
Yeah. We say
She's
something
not fat.
similar to in Australia. It's an easy
Yeah.
doer in Australia.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
concept. Yep.
But so, and so usually in the winters in the past, she's gotten fat, and I thought she was pregnant before, and she wasn't. So this time I was like, oh, maybe. And my wife's like, no, I think she's pregnant. And I'm like, okay, well, we had her tested. The vet said no. So we're like, okay, I guess she's just fat. Um, but when my wife Diana started riding her, she kept going, oh, you know what? I don't want to settle her. I'm just gonna go bareback. Oh, I don't want to settle her. I'm just gonna go bareback. And for the last, so like basically since, when she got bred, maybe 2 months in, we've really haven't saddled her at all. Like maybe once or twice, but every other time it's been bareback, and we've been riding her bareback and not running with her or anything either. It's like,
Yep.
oh, for whatever reason, when either of us would get on her, we would never want to run with her, or
Yep.
really work her out. We would just take her, walk her around, maybe do a little bit of like, just testing some cues and stuff, but nothing like, where we're really working her, making her sweat at all,
Yep.
which was, really funny to now know, because we were just like listening to the horse and not really, you know, pushing her exercise, like making her work too much.
Yeah. And that's so awesome. Like when you're willing to, like, not even cognitively know, like, it's not like you guys were like, oh, is there a reason why I want to go bareback today? It was just literally following the energy of what she was showing you in that day and in that moment. And, same with Destino, like to know the days where it might be nicer to just hang with him and have some time to connect and hang out and stuff like that. So, can you talk a little bit about the body work that you've experienced with horses? Like how they like what sort of body work do you do with horses, and well, maybe I'll start with that. Like what is body work on a horse? What does that look like?
Well, I think it can range. Like, they have equine massage. I'm not trained in that, but you can have horses do that. They have chiropractic stuff that I don't, I never learned to adjust the horses or anything. So most of the time I do more energetic things on the horse, either the access body processes, or I facilitate this class along with Susie Godsey, another access facilitator called SC, um, and where we really look at energetically, changing the structure of the horse's body and where we can put our touch to assist and change that with the horse.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think, and for me, it's like you said, the communication with the horse is so different, because I remember my first time, it's like you just ask the horse, okay, horse, what's going on? What do you need? And the amount of times a horse would like either point to a part on their body or point to it on my body
Yeah.
was like crazy. And for
Yeah.
me, it was like, no, it can't be that. And then I would start working on the horse, and there would be like, someone come over that owns the horse and be like, how'd you know to work on that? We've been having trouble with this thing, or like, oh my God, or I would just see the horses. Like the best is we would have a horse, you lunge the horse or move the horse around, and then watch their body move and see kind of where they're stuck, or what's going on. And
Yeah.
then are you okay there? You're like,
I'm
gotta
just on
move
the move. I'm on the move because my computer's going flat and I thought it wasn't going to go flat that fast. So I'm just going to move myself to
to
where
plug
I
you
can
in.
plug it in. Because I'm like, the last thing I want is this computer to just drop out when we're halfway through an awesome conversation. So you
That would
keep
be
going.
funny.
That would
Yeah.
be annoying.
That was so good. But so it's like, speaking of moving, we move the horse, and you can watch the horse where it's not maybe having the full range of motion, or it's kind of stuck, or it's hesitant, or whatever. And you go and do these things to it, and then all of a sudden, like, you see how the horse changes, or in its gait changed, which I think was just, for me, it was always like the feedback was so clear, and it was like you could see the difference like really quickly, which is with people,
Yeah.
sometimes you don't, you know, like horses, they let things go and it's just gone, which is like
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. And what sort of things do you look for a horse to communicate that with you? Like, because I think with people, we've relied so heavily on our words to say that feels good, that's this, that's that. Whereas horses obviously don't have that. So in what sort of ways, you mentioned them pointing at certain parts of their bodies or maybe presenting them. Is there any other ways that you've seen that horses really clearly communicate things to you that is obviously nonverbal?
Well, I think, if the horse doesn't want it, it walks away. And
Yeah.
if the horse doesn't really want it, and then you don't let them walk away, they start, pinning their ears back, or they go and, they let they'll kick you, they'll at least, all these things that you can tell pretty easily, when a horse is like, nope, they just, and if they're like, if you have them on a halter, they'll just move around or something when they don't want it. Because there's
Yeah.
lots of times where I go to work on my horse and it's like, nope, not interested today. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
Or
okay.
even like you'll put your hand somewhere for 3 minutes and you just see their whole world and body melt. And then they're like, I'm done. Like, whereas a person, like we seem to think sometimes it takes a long, long time. Whereas I've noticed with horses and children, funnily enough, it's like you can have a process with them for a few minutes and then they're like, okay, done, and then they'll
Yeah.
yawn or they'll do something and just head away to
Yeah.
do something.
And I mean, it's like when we work on the horses, like they're licking, if they're like into it, they're licking, they're chewing, they're falling asleep standing, they're really relaxed, which
Yeah.
is, if you have a horse and it starts really relaxing, they're prey animals. Like,
Yeah.
so, when they start relaxing and really, falling asleep standing up and stuff like that, it's like, that they like, it's just so apparent that they're like,
Yeah, that trust and allowance. And then what about because Essie is a very more sort of a hands-on, like you're doing a little bit more contact with the horse. Do you have a go-to body process, like more from the energetic side of things that you find is like a really good all-rounder for horses?
I think MTVSS, just from the withers to the tail,
Yeah,
is really good. Just, or restoration communion with earth from the
yeah,
withers to the tail. Either of those,
cool.
I think, are great.
Yeah, cool. And then probably like my last question is, so, there's this amazing class in access consciousness, and there's also the SE extravaganza, which Yeah, I would love to mention that as well. What do people need to do to get an SE extravaganza? Is there prerequisites?
Yeah, the prerequisite for an SE extravaganza is either foundation within a year
Mhm.
or a CFP at any time.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Because that class I've personally done, and that was years ago, and I still remember it's one of those classes that is so clear in my world of like, yeah, everything that took place. And then looking at conscious horse, conscious rider, your wife is a facilitator. Are you a conscious horse, conscious rider facilitator? Well,
No, technically not. I mean,
oh,
I have the prerequisites and everything, but I do, with the other stuff with the horses, like with the SE horse or SE extravaganza, I do. So I don't really ever worry about doing it. And now I have my wife. I can just make her do it.
exactly. But you've obviously attended these classes. So the other
Hmm.
invitation I like to be with these podcasts is because obviously people like us, quote unquote, like horse people, people that have horses in their lives, people that have been changed and are changed on a daily basis by their horses. Like, is there something from a conscious horse, conscious rider class that you can share with people? Or what would your invitation be to someone out there who's not necessarily a quote unquote horse person, but like, what have you seen these classes change for people or be for people or
Well, I think, one of the greatest invitations is horses are just a lot of space. They're this invitation to just kind of relax and to receive. And, like they're great. Like my two horses, they don't go to work every day. I go to work and pay for them. All they do is sit around in the pasture and eat grass. And then eventually they get mad at me when I take them and expect them to do a little
make
workout.
them to do things. Yeah, like a tiny
And
little,
I
just
didn't bring them,
30
and I
minutes
didn't bring them.
out of
That
the
that
day.
20-minute walk we have to go on is such an inconvenience.
Oh, I love that so much. But
But
honestly, yeah, sorry,
but
keep going.
like I think the conscious horse stuff, and it also gets you into, for me, working with horses and helped me start trusting me more and what I was aware of and kind of what I was actually going on. Because the horses are really clear, they're not gonna like they don't go into like this fantasy world. They just have they're present and they're aware of what's going on. And so, with them, it's like my favorite act, like the conscious horse stuff is really good because you're like, oh, I'm totally telling this horse what to do. But energetically, you're not. You're really confused in your head. You're not clear at all. And the horse does exactly what's in your head. So it's like unclear and really confused. And you're like, why is the horse unclear and really confused? I'm telling it to move right. And the
Yeah,
horse is like, no, you're not.
yeah,
And it's really, for me, it was uh, like that helped. I could apply that in so many areas of my life, where I was like, okay, I'm working with this horse. It's being difficult. Maybe I'm the one that's difficult, not the horse.
yeah, yeah. That's so cool. Oh, that is amazing. And really, yeah, thank you. Because even where you started that off with the classes or horses in general are space and they invite us to come into that space and be that space with them. Like they are
Mhm.
totally the invitation to be like, hey, you can just be space with me. And then if you require something of me, all I'm asking is that you're clear with your ask. And like that is really one of the biggest lessons and one of the biggest things they've taught me as well. And how often do we do that in our lives with other people where, what comes out of our mouth doesn't at all match what's actually going on in our head or in our world. And horses have really taught me so much about congruency and being super clear in what I'm asking. And every time you be that, you get what you're asking for and you get more of that space that they be. So truly an invitation and a gift.
Mhm.
Yeah, cool. So thank you. Is there anything else you want to add? I mean, obviously, we expect a lot of foal spam when the baby hits the
Oh,
ground in
don't worry.
the
I'm
what
on baby
color is it
watch.
going to be? It's going to be like so
You want to get on
exciting.
the, are you betting male or are you betting boy or girl? Do you want to get on the bet?
Ooh, I kind of get boy. I get he could be a
That's
little,
what I did too. There's been a
yeah.
lot of people are on the boy train.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
that's what I get.
can
And then
you
color? What color are we thinking?
I'm like, give me Oreo, give me black and white paint, you know, like
Ooh.
like white, black spots, some black socks, maybe,
Oh,
you
oh my
know.
God, it's going to be the cutest thing ever. Running around after Nimue, this little white and black creature. Oh my
We'll
Lord.
see. I mean, they're like really. So for those you don't know, my roan's a strawberry roan, which is like red and white and a little bit of black speckles and gray, and
Mm,
then the stallion is all white. So we'll see what we get from, you know.
anyone's guess. And I'm so
Yeah,
excited. I'm
it's
so
really.
excited
I
to meet
mean,
more.
with it can be really a lot of, you know. There's because the stallion has black, like all black. I think its mother or father was all black, you know, so there's like a lot of, you know, could go a lot of different
Possibility.
ways.
Yeah.
Possibilities, definitely.
Amazing.
But
Amazing.
so we'll
Well,
see.
thank you so much for being on here. Congratulations on becoming a horse dad again to your own little
Uh-huh.
baby, which is so, so
Uh-huh.
exciting. And if people want to reach you, we'll pop some ways for them to find out your classes around the world and get
Yes.
yourself to one of these FC extravaganzas. But Andrew also does body classes and a bunch of other things. So thank you again for being with us. And thank you for watching, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye.
you, Andrew. Bye. Stop live stream, stop recording.